Okay, so we are back. This is another video for Lock It or Leave It. The first video of 2024. No one I'd rather do this with my co-host Aaron. Aaron, how you doing right now, man?
I'm feeling great. Really pumped to talk about some new things, especially with the new year coming up. We're gonna have a lot of new content for you guys. So keep watch of everything that's happening, especially on our TikTok. There's a ton of videos over there. There's some really good discussions in the comments. We'd love to have you guys in there if you're not already there.
Yeah, Cam and I are mainly the ones doing the TikTok. We just hit 9,000, but I want to start doing these short form videos with Aaron more, kind of get those deep dives into the NBA, the analytics side. That's what Aaron really excels at. And today we're going to be talking about his team, the Orlando Magic. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this. The Orlando Magic's fast start. I think they're ranked fourth in the Eastern Conference right now. They had the fourth best defensive rating in the month of November, only behind the Timberwolves, the Celtics, and the OKC Thunder. Talk to me a little bit of what you've seen from this team so far, and if any of this could be sustainable.
So the main thing I've seen from this team is really it's not a one season thing. It's really a continuation of what started I would say 2021 when Cole Anthony and Franz Wagner were first coming up. There was a different kind of energy that they brought to the team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Even though they're not the best defensive players, their ability to shoulder the offensive workload kind of let a lot of the role players really be able to focus on defense. And that's really continued the past two seasons. And now that these guys' offensive games are coming around, you're starting to see the wins, but the defense has always been there. The problem was they weren't scoring enough points. But with the advent of Banchero and Wagner and Cole Anthony and all these guys starting to be able to shoot the ball better and score the ball better, that's really where you're seeing the wins come in. It's not a 1 year thing, it's a process. They've been rebuilding for a while, and you're finally starting to see the fruits of the labor. It's a really nice thing to see because as a Magic fan, it's been really hard to watch recently. We had a lot of high draft picks. Not all of them panned out, but now they're starting to. So I'm very hopeful for the future that this can continue much further than just this year because it hasn't been just this year. It's been the years before as well.
There are a lot of NBA fans now, or at least people who call themselves fans, who say this current NBA, the modern NBA, is all the same style of play, and I vehemently disagree with that. Right? You see, the Pacers are very fast. They're kind of smaller. They're quick. They get out and run. The Magic are doing the exact opposite. What they're doing is they're getting guys who are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", who are very versatile wings, who are big guys who can play physical. And that goes back to what you mentioned about how isn't a 1 year thing. I mean, the Minister of Defense, Jonathan Isaac, he's healthy and he's able to give you some good minutes now. Bitadze, Paolo, Franz. There's a plethora of guys who are 6'8" and up who can give you those style of plays on both sides of the ball. Now, in the month of November, we'll get to December in a second, but they were top 10 in offensive and defensive rebounding. That's a huge part, and I think rebounding is one of the things that can translate over into the playoffs. So just talk to me about how the defense and how their size can kind of match up against other teams in the Eastern Conference.
Well, they say you can't win a game 0 to -1, but in the NBA, you can definitely win games 100 to 90. So that defense really helps them get out of the transition because, like I said, they weren't a great offensive team. They still don't have a ton of shooters, but that length and the athleticism really does help them in transition, like you said, with those bigger wings like Banchero and Wagner and even Bidatsa as well.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of young teams that try to be offensive. You have a lot of young guys who want to score the ball, score the ball, score the ball. But defense is one of those things that allows you to kind of have a constant throughout the season. With that being said, they were fourth in defensive rating in November. They've dropped to 10th in December. Now we're in January here. Their offensive rating was 26th in the month of December. And in November, it wasn't top 15 either. So my question to you, Ak, would be, do they go and try and get a point guard, right? Because you want to have Franz and Paolo with the ball in their hands. Those are the wings. They're the guys who are going to progress as the season goes forward and for your franchise. You want those guys to have those minutes and those reps as being ball handlers. But the assist to turnover ratio isn't great. The assist percent isn't great. Bottom 10 in the league in both of those categories. How do you fix the offensive side of the ball issues? Because you can't run Paolo post-ups and Franz ISOs all game.
Right. I think this is a good time to go out and try to get a point guard before the trade deadline. The problem is the market's not too deep this year. When you're at the Magic stage in the rebuild, any guy you draft now is probably gonna, hit his peak a little bit too late for where your window wants to be. So right now is when they really should be trading picks, mortgaging the future for the present. But I'm just not really sure who they would get because Zach LaVine's the main guy talked about on the trade market right now, but I just don't think he's a great fit. So I think they should. The question is who.
Yeah, so I'll just float a name, right? Malcolm Brogdon. Not a huge, big time name, but he's someone who can run an offense, who has experience, who's been on playoff teams before. if you're a Magic fan or you're a Magic GM, are you saying we don't want to try and go for someone like Brogdon if we want to get someone in the draft, or not the draft, sorry, the trade deadline? We want it to be a big fish, or are you saying, you know what? Yeah, we'll take Brogdon this year and see what he can do for our team.
I think Brogdon's honestly a great shout. I think he'd fit in very well with the team. He can shoot the ball much better than any of the current players, except for Ingles. But he's got his own limitations. So I think that's a great idea. Actually, I had not personally thought of that. Portland is definitely they might be in a bit of a selling mood. They're
Yeah.
not having the best season, so I think that's a great idea. The question is, how much does it take to get him, right? Because if it takes a lot to get him and kind of precludes you from the trade market of anybody else, there might be an issue with that. I don't think he's the only, Magic aren't one piece away, and that piece is Malcolm Brogdon. So, depending on the picks, I think that might be a great fit.
Now, the Magic did something that I think should be really commendable in the NBA, because I think not a lot of teams do it anymore. What we saw with the Timberwolves, and it's actually paying off now. When the trade was made, it got a lot of slander, which was the Timberwolves realized we have a guy like Anthony Edwards. So what are we going to do? We're going to go out and get a big fish like Rudy Gobert. And at the time, it seemed like a terrible trade because you're kind of you're trading away your future and what you can do and your flexibility for the right now. And we didn't see the immediate results, but now we're seeing that number one T Wolves really hit their stride on defense and really do it behind guys like Gobert and Towns and Nas Reed and Jaden McDaniels. The Spurs are in this category too, right? And I think Luka and LeBron teams had it where when you have a guy that good so early, you automatically get taken out of the lottery, right? With Luka and the Cavs and the Magic and the Mavericks, you're not a bottom 10 team with LeBron or Luka. You're just simply not. So it's harder to find or pair those stars with another high end draft pick. What the Magic did was commendable. They had Franz. They said, we're going to stay bad. And they were able to add Paolo. And now you have two cornerstone pieces. So I want to segue into Franz and Paolo. How good can this duo be? Because right now I'm looking at them and you hear Tatum and Brown comparisons. You see all these things. They're two 6'10" wings that can handle the ball and put the ball in the basket.
Oh yeah, I mean they're special. They've really been a lot of fun to watch this year, and I've said it a few times, but the shooting is really what's going to get them. If the shots come around, which Paulo's is coming around a little better, Franz shot better last year, but if the shooting comes around, this guy's the limit. That opens up their game so much, so much. I mean, right now they're both doing a good job of handling the ball, especially better than last season. But they're kind of being forced into that role that probably isn't really what they should be doing. They should be working a lot more off ball, a lot more cuts, a lot more pick and roll kind of action. But like you said, Magic don't have like a great point guard, so it's kind of tough for them to do. But Paulo's really impressed me with his getting to the line, shooting about 7 free throws per game right now. It's a very good rate. He was about the same last year. He doesn't shoot a terrific percentage, but the fact that he's getting there is a big thing for me. I really like that. You got to get your free points, and again with the shooting, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but if the 3 point shot comes around, it's more likely than not that the free throw shot will come around too. And with both of those things, it's going to open up so much space for him. And the nice thing about having both of these guys on the floor at the same time as well is there's so much size. You can't double one because then the other gets open. You can't put both your wings on one of them. Can't put both wings on the other. So going forward, I think the point guard's the key, and the shooting is also the key. If you can get those two things right, the Magic they'll be in business.
I was lurking on some of the Orlando Magic Reddit threads before this video, and I found something really cool I want to say. Someone was talking about who's better between the two, and the response was no one knows yet. It's up in the air. They both average 7.7 field goals per game. Paolo averages 16.6 field goal attempts, where Franz only averages 16.5. That's zero point 0.1 difference. Banchero averages 21.5 points per game. Franz averages 21 points per game. Banchero has a slight edge in rebounds and assists at 6.9 and 4.6, but Franz is right behind him at 5.9 and 3.9. This isn't one of those things where it's Brown and Tatum where you're saying who's the definitive better player. Tatum is the untouchable and Brown is kind of the 1B. I don't think there's a 1A and 1B with this team. And so early on, I think that's great for them and allows them to progress, not like other teams have been. Let's just talk about now the ancillary pieces, right? The Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony's getting some Sixth Man of the Year buzz. Are you willing at this point when you're seeing this team to say, I'm okay to package some ancillary pieces for a big fish? Or are you saying the Magic are where they are right now because of those ancillary pieces?
I'm saying they're mostly right where they are now because of the ancillary pieces. Like I said, I like packaging a lot more draft picks at this stage in the Magic's rebuild. They have the role players. Cole Anthony's been great this year. He must have read the article I wrote about him because his shot selection has improved
Yeah.
massively. Jalen Suggs still playing great defense. And you can't overlook Banchero and Wagner on defense either. They're both very good defenders. They can play on ball and off the ball. They're big, they're athletic, they're switchable. It's kind of like a little reminds me a little bit of the Raptors back when they won the ship in 2020 with all the basically positionless basketball. They had a bunch of tall, athletic guys. They switched everything and they got out in transition. So I like this style of ball. I'm seeing a lot from the Magic. One guy who I'm not sold on yet is Anthony Black. Now I know
Mm.
he's young. We just drafted him, but I don't know. Something's off.
So let me ask why. What are you seeing from Anthony Black or not seeing that makes you have this opinion on him?
I wouldn't say a lack of effort on defense necessarily, but he doesn't really seem to fit the philosophy. Offensively, he's been pretty solid. I have no complaints there,
Right.
other than some turnover issues. But that's expected with the young guard. Seeing the offense this far along early is encouraging, but the defense worries me because that's it's kind of the mo of this team.
Now, when the playoffs start, people always want to talk about depth, right? But when the playoffs start, you really going to 7, 8 guys, maybe 8, usually 6, 7. The rotations slim up a lot. So, who is your go-to 6 or 7 right now if the Orlando Magic are starting a playoff game tomorrow?
Man, so that's tough.
We can cross
It
2 off the
depends
list
on.
already. Paolo and Franz have 2
Yep,
spots.
those two are starting obviously. Things after that, there's a lot of guys with similar skill sets, similar abilities, so it's tough. Fultz, when he's healthy, I know he's had some health issues. I don't know. I'm not sure when he'll be back. Actually, let me check this. I think it might be a while for him.
Okay. So,
But
Fultz.
if Fultz is healthy, I want Fultz out there.
Okay.
Cole Anthony's my sixth man, of course. I have probably John. The thing is, though, there's a lot of positions that overlap, right? I
Yeah.
want Jonathan Isaac out there. I want Wendell Carter out there. But I guess I could play Franz at the two. I'll do that. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'll do that. I'll take Fultz at the one, Franz at the two, Banchero at the three, Isaac at the four, Carter at the five, and then give me Cole Anthony, six man off the bench. Uh, Jalen Suggs also off the bench. I really like his defense. And then for one more, give me Mo Wagner off the bench. Give me those
Mo
eight.
Wagner, he doesn't get a lot of praise because his younger brother is, Franz, but that guy's really good for them, good vet for them. Last question before we get on out of here. OKC Thunder Sam Presti talked about, or GM Sam Presti talked about the team's expectations once they reach the playoffs. He says we don't want to just make it there. We want to have an arrival. We want people to know we're not just here for a first round exit. We're trying to win the whole thing the first year we get back in the playoffs. The Magic might not have that same expectations, but what are you thinking for the playoffs? What would make that fan base happy? What would be some good signs heading into next season for Orlando?
Not necessarily the results of the game. I think the process is more what it's about. I think as long as the younger guys show that they're kind of not scared of the spotlight, as long as they don't shrink,
Yeah.
even if we lose some close games, because the thing is, as a six seed, I mean, you're playing the three seed. Maybe we drop to seven, maybe we move up to five, but either way, you're playing a team that's probably much better than the Magic in the first round. So the results not as concerning at this point as the effort and how the guys look in the game. Like I said, these guys are all very young. Most of them, it's going to be their first playoff experience. So as long as they can hold their own, kind of fight it out against a better team, that's more what I'm looking for than necessarily winning the series. I wouldn't say
All
I'm
right.
happy to be there, but at this stage, yeah, it's a little ahead of schedule. So yes, I am happy to be there.
Love to hear that. Aaron and I will be making more of these videos. I guess we can just do team by team and kind of just compile them together, kind of have some check-ins. Leave this with a like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you follow us on TikTok too. A lot more of these coming. Aaron, thanks for hopping on real quick and getting this done.
Absolutely. And if there's anyone you guys want to see, this will be on YouTube. So comment in the comments down below. Let us know who you want to see next after this Magic review.
Perfect. He said it all. We'll see y'all.
It's a 16 buff in the dark.